everybody, welcome to another episode of Young College Chef. So what I'm going to be making today, I'm actually going to be making Italian bread from scratch. So let's see what we need. Alright, so today we'll need 2.5 teaspoons of dry yeast, 1/4 cups of warm water, 3 cups of flour, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of fennel seeds, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Alright, so what we're going to do first is we're going to get the yeast and the water, we're going to put it together. Alright, so what I'm going to do with this now, I'm going to sit on the side for like about 5 minutes and I'm going to continue the rest of the recipe. Alright, so as you can see, I already have my 3 cups of flour in my mixer. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix the flour, sugar, salt, garlic, pepper, and the fennel seeds, and I'm going to just stir it all up. So it's been about 5 minutes. I've mixed all the flour and ingredients together, and then now as you guys can see, this is the yeast in the water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pour that kind of in the center right there. Got my spoon here to just take off all that excess. And then we're going to mix this all together until it's fully incorporated. Now, as you guys can see, my dough is a little too dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an additional 1/4 cup of water to this. As you guys can see, now the dough has formed into a ball. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to knead the dough. So you want to get on a lightly floured surface. I'm actually using a cutting board. If you guys want to do it on countertops, that's fine. Make sure it's clean and sanitized. So I lightly floured my cutting board, and here's my dough. So what I'm gonna do is just grab and pull it out of there. Okay. Put a little bit of flour on top. All right. At this point, we're gonna knead the dough. The dough has been kneaded completely. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my olive oil. I'm gonna get my bowl again. And I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in there, maybe like 1/4 a teaspoon. So a little bit of olive oil. And you're going to put your hand in there and you're going to spread it around to all the corners. You want to do this so that the bread doesn't stick. Okay, so I'm going to get my bread now, put it in here, and just make sure I coat the bread everywhere completely. My bread is completely covered in oil. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get I'm going to get saran wrap and I'm going to cover the bread, and you want it to rise for a few hours. You can do 1 to 2 hours. I'm probably going to do it maybe for like 5 hours so it can really rise a lot. And you can put, if you want, you guys can put like a damp sheet on top of it. You guys can put in saran wrap. Now one thing you want to make sure you do is that whatever container you put the dough in, you want it to be big enough so that the dough has room to rise. Because if you put it in a really small container, the dough won't rise as big, and that's why I like to use this container. And as well, when it's rising, make sure you guys put it in a warm spot so that it can rise, but not directly in the sunlight. Hey guys, I'm back. Alright, so the dough's been rising for maybe like about 4 or 5 hours now. So as you can see, it's like tripled in size, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. So what you can do is, whatever you have on top of it, just take it off, whether it's saran wrap or the cloth material, whatever. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to our floured surface. Alright, so we're going to lightly flour it. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to knead it just a little bit. We don't want to knead it too much because we don't want to completely deflate the bread. The dough at least. I got a cooking sheet here. I sprayed it down with some oil so the bread doesn't stick. Now, I'm going to put these on long ways, so Put it in the middle because it's gonna grow. So even though they look kind of thin, they will grow about 3 times the size because we're gonna let it rise one more time before we cook them. That's one. All right, so the bread, so there you go, the breads are all rolled. I had to use a second pan because I didn't have enough room. So what I'm gonna do now is now you want to put like cut marks into the dough because you don't want like when it starts to rise and starts to grow, the bread will break. So you want to put markings on it so that it, if it breaks, it doesn't look awkwardly weird. You can do a lot of different ways. Some people do one long line down the middle. Some people do slashes. Some people do like crisscross patterns. I'm not going to be doing all that because that's a lot of work. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to cover this up again and let the dough rise for another 30 to 40 minutes, and then we're going to pop them in the oven. Alright, you guys, so the bread has been rising for an additional 30 minutes. So what I did now is I preheated the oven to 425. So here's the bread. It's been rising. Alrighty, you guys, so what I'm going to do is once the oven is done preheating, I'm going to put the bread in the oven for 10 minutes at 425. And then after 10 minutes, I'm going to bring the oven down to 400. And I'm going to leave it there for an additional 25 to 30 minutes. The tidbit, you guys, is that you never want to put the bread on the top rack because what's going to happen is the crust is going to cook too much. It's going to brown. So I hope you guys like this recipe. If you guys have any questions or any comments, leave them below. Subscribe, you guys, all right? So this is the Young College Chef signing off.